Hi, you're listening to Childless and Moving Onward. This is the place where we talk about thriving in life when you're a woman who is childless, not by choice, regardless of the road that brought you to childlessness. Hi, and welcome to episode 23 of Childless and Moving Onward. I'm your host, Gail Miller, life coach, speaker, and physician. And this is a podcast where we explore navigating a path we didn't plan for, childlessness that we don't want. Today, I want to dive into a topic about a course of events that took me by surprise, both the event itself and the results of it. It really hit home. What happened really hit home as a woman who is childless, not by choice, because I ended up facing an unexpected break from the internet. And while I was stressed about not being able to get done what I wanted to, in the end, it was a blessing in different ways, on different levels, including recognizing how important it is when you're a childless woman, and you don't want to be, especially when you don't want to be, how important these times are, because it provides a sense of connectedness. And what I'm referring to is how important the times on the internet, in these groups, these social groups on the internet, how important they can be. I mean, there are definitely drawbacks to the internet and to social media, but it also can provide a sense of connectedness that I think we often don't pay as much attention to. We pay attention a lot to the drawbacks of social media. So I was out of town for a week and I had planned on doing work while I was away. First mistake. Because I was not taking my own advice that we all need downtime. And when we don't get it, it affects our ability to navigate every day, just the everyday things. But it also especially hits when those days and times come that are the painful feelings are more front and center. You know, despite my knowing how important it is to take a full break, I wasn't planning on doing that. But as we all know way too well, plans don't always work out. So one of the many things I had planned for the week was my monthly support group that I have, my circle of support. But after 3 days of struggling to do anything online, Zoom meetings that were just worthless, I had to end them. I decided it would be best to postpone the support group. Because above all else, I always want to be able to connect and to be inclusive and supportive of all participants. But you can't do that when you're constantly cutting in and out, and not even just for short periods, like for several minutes and more. Like my Zoom meetings that I was having were out. So you really can't connect that way. So I postponed the group for a week, but I felt terrible because I worried about letting people down who I know needed the support. I was annoyed. I was just frustrated. And I was frustrated about the things I wanted to get done that I couldn't do. So now I know we all, there isn't anybody who hasn't experienced those times when the internet cuts out. Maybe there's a storm, some technical issue, or you're simply in a place with a bad signal. For most people, it's, annoying, but it's manageable. But through this, I realized that for those of us who are childless, not by choice, that situation can carry differently. It can feel different and has different outcomes from it. It leads to a whole different set of unexpected feelings. And that is feeling even more isolated, because you can't connect with the people who get you. So in this episode, I'm going to talk about how this unexpected digital detox, how it can feel, what we can learn in that silence, and how we can cope with those moments of unexpected extra solitude in a world that seems so deeply connected otherwise, and in a world where our connection with others who get us, with others who know what we're going through and feel that isolation, in a world where that connection is so needed. So let's start with the obvious. An unexpected break from the internet can feel unsettling, right? And it really did. I mean, whether it's you planned this meeting or, oh, I left my phone somewhere, and it can feel really unsettling because we're so used to being connected in some way all the time. For many of us, especially in the childless community, the online world is where we find our support, the community, the connection. When we're dealing with that isolating experience of being childless, not by choice, because it feels like we're surrounded by nothing but parents. So the social media and the online forums, while they have their negatives, they can be a lifeline, a place where we find others who understand this unique grief and the challenges that we face. So when the internet goes down, it can feel like we've been cut off from our support system. And then in those moments, that silence can be especially deafening because you're left with your thoughts. Sometimes you're left with the emotions that you've been able to push aside thanks to the distraction of the online world come rushing up to the surface. But yes, social media can also create pain. All the posts from friends and families about their kids, their colleagues, everything is always about their kids. Back to school, summer vacation photos, holidays coming up, pregnancy announcements, baby showers, blah, 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 on and on. It doesn't end. There's never a shortage of posts celebrating what is considered traditional family, which always means to the general population, to society, means having kids, because they just can't see any other definition of family. So it can be both a blessing and a curse, social media. So let's talk about the blessing part here and why being offline can be difficult. I mean, what do you do when you're unexpectedly offline and faced with all that quiet? So first, it's important to acknowledge how you're feeling. It's okay to feel uncomfortable, to feel lonely, to even feel anxious, to feel sad, to feel that grief even bigger than the usual. The digital world has become a way to manage those feelings. And when it's taken away, you're left with raw emotions that you might not have dealt with in a long time. But even though it can be overwhelming to suddenly feel this increase in isolation, start feeling these feelings that maybe have been pretended away by scrolling. These feelings, even though they're not comfortable, there's an opportunity here. An opportunity that also addresses the curse part of being online, the not so good part about being online. being on offline forces us to sit with ourselves, to reflect on where we are emotionally, and to pay attention to the things we've been avoiding. It's uncomfortable, no doubt, and that's probably an understatement. Those feelings, to say the least, don't feel good. There's a reason why we've been avoiding them. But sitting with them, paying attention to them, can also allow in healing if we let it. So being offline lets us stay away from those posts that really feel like they highlight what we're missing. All the family photos, like photos of the kids and all the celebrations and all of that. It's an opportunity to take a break from a forum that isn't always beneficial, but that we somehow feel drawn to, as if we've got an obligation to witness others' lives. I mean, think about it. Even if you're really good at scrolling past, sometimes you still sneak back, or you scroll as quickly. Or when you have the opportunity, to see fewer posts of some people, and you know it, but you don't take that opportunity because you feel like, I should be there for my friend. We feel this obligation to witness these things on social media. So we don't always take those opportunities to help ourselves. But we don't have an obligation to witness others' lives, especially in their entirety, or at least the pictures they want the world to see, the picture of their lives. I'm not talking about the images, but the picture they're giving of what their lives are, which of course is always curated to be only the best. And so you feel like not only are you missing out, but their life is perfect, and it's not. But we don't have an obligation to witness their life. We have an obligation to take care of ourselves. So I want to share with you a few ways you can make the most of these moments when the internet isn't there, to fill in the gaps, whether you've deliberately planned it, you've taken a break from social media, or it happens by chance. Mother Nature's storm gets in the way and your connectivity goes, or you're in a place where there is bad connectivity. So these are just a few ways of getting some benefit out of that absence from the internet. First is use the break to reconnect with yourself. Whether it's journaling, meditating, just sitting and letting your mind wander or not wander. You just close your mind off to everything. Just focus on your breath. Check in with yourself. Not just how you're feeling, but what is it that you need right now? When was the last time that you really paid attention to what you need right now? The second is, when the internet is gone for whatever reason, for a lot of people, including myself, sometimes more than others, that means a lot of extra available time. Because for many of us, once we start that scrolling, we can't stop. And so a few minutes can turn into an hour. That hour can turn into more really easily. I mean, for those of you who are very good about, I'm just looking, up one thing or two things, or I'm spending, this many minutes and that's it, and then you stop, that's awesome. But the scrolling, for many, it becomes addictive. And by the time you're done, you're wondering, where did my day go? And I've done that. So I I say that fully being transparent that I've done that where I was supposed to get this work done and now the morning's almost gone. But now that you're taking a break from the internet, consider picking up an activity that helps you process your emotions, a creative activity, maybe. And creative doesn't just mean you have to draw or paint or create ceramics. And that can be creative, can be crafting, knitting, gardening, cooking, baking. It doesn't have to be creative, but that's one way. Maybe it's going for a run, going to the gym, putting on some music and dancing. But do something that's allowing you to process those emotions. And those activities can provide a sense of calm and control when otherwise life can feel chaotic. The third is, no matter how it is that you've ended up signed off, when you don't have your online communities, the other communities of women or the communities of other women who are childless not by choice, this is a good time. It's a good opportunity to reach out to people in your life that you may not connect with as often as you want to, but that you want to connect with. The people who you know will be supportive, who they don't have to be people without children. They can be the people who will listen to you, who will honor your needs. So it might be calling a friend or going for a walk with someone who understands that you're going through this pain. Real life connections, though they're different from the online ones and they're different from specific connections with women who are childless not by choice, they can still offer meaningful support. I will tell you that after my initial, oh no, feeling, I mean, I seriously was like, what do I do with this? When I couldn't use the internet the way I had planned and I felt lost, it actually surprised me that it turned into a welcome relief. I mean, it shouldn't have because I know the damage that all this internet connection can do. I'm not talking about the support groups and that, but the internet connections and social media otherwise, and always being there, reading emails and all that. I know the negative effects it has, but it just, until I had to let it go, I didn't fully understand how it really makes an impact on my life. So it turned into a big welcome relief. I was relaxing more. Um, and I'm not just referring to things that I couldn't access, the things that trigger the pain of being childless, just not having access in general to social media, not reading through emails and, oh, save this one for tomorrow or next week, and oh, file this one that, and oh yeah, got to take care of this. Just reading through my emails alone can leave me feeling activated. I often feel like overstimulated with that constant influx of information, of the constant notifications. Even though I have changed my settings, so I'm not getting them all the time. But it's just a constant demand of your attention. And that makes it hard to unwind. And if you can't unwind, then you can't navigate the pain either. With that break, I was able to focus on what it is that I need. I was also able to recognize how it can bring not being on the internet, how it can bring such a deep sense of isolation. Because this is where we connect with the people who understand the childless part of our story. But working through all of it helped me to see more clearly that being offline doesn't have to mean we're completely alone. It can give us time to rediscover our resilience. It's time to be present with our emotions, with our hearts, with our souls, with our needs, and time to realize we're stronger than we think. So I want to remind you that it's okay to feel frustrated or sad during these times. But remember, you've already navigated unexpected paths in life. You've been through things you didn't plan for, and you've found ways to adapt and thrive. It may not be the way you want to thrive, the way you want to live, but you're able to thrive. This is just one more unexpected pause. I want to leave you with this thought. When the internet goes down and you're left with silence and no access to the childless community, see it also as a chance to hear yourself. Use that time to focus on self-care and self-compassion. Take that opportunity to reflect on how far you've come and to see that you aren't alone. Even if you're surrounded by people with children, there is a whole community of women out there who are just like you. If you're looking for a way to connect to other women who are childless not by choice and feel support and community, join my monthly group. It's the Circle of Support. It's a free support group that meets the third Tuesday of every month at 8 p.m. Eastern. All right, that's it for today. Thanks so much for joining me, and I will be back with you next week. I'm so glad you joined me. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you liked it, you can find more tips, insight, and support in a private space with other women who are like you, so they get you. You can do that by joining my free Facebook group, When Being Childless Isn't by Choice. Join us by clicking on the link in the show notes. You can also stay up to date with me on Instagram at Childless Path Onward and Facebook and YouTube at Path Onward. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week.